morning, parents. Welcome to the latest edition of our Monday morning meditation. This week and next week, we're going to be talking specifically to men. Last couple weeks, we've been talking to women. Now we come to the men. And our passage this morning is going to be found in Titus chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. You can look with me there. And it says there, "But as for you, teach what accords with sound doctrine. Older men are to be sober-minded, dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith, in love, and in steadfastness." Paul starts by telling Titus to teach what accords with sound doctrine, with healthy doctrine that's free from error. To teach and preach Christian doctrine is what he's saying. And the content of that message is what we were looking at last week and what we're going to be looking at in the next couple weeks. This is sound doctrine, what I'm about to tell you. And he starts with the older men, and he says that they are to be sober-minded, so free from every form of mental and spiritual drunkenness. They have their wits about them. They are right-minded. They're not influenced by other external things to act out without self-control. And so this is what Paul is trying to communicate here with a sober-mindedness. And it makes me think of the Apostle Paul when he says in Romans for everyone to not think more highly of themselves than they ought to think. So it's not prideful thinking, right? It's not an inflated view of the ego or the self. It is a right thinking about who they are and about who God is. And so that is to be sober-minded. Another way to say it is this, is that life and faith has really humbled the older man. Life has humbled him. Faith, right? The humility of knowing that he's a sinner and that God is a great Savior. It has put him in his right place. He understands who he is. And now he understands then better what life is and what faith is all about. And so he has this soberness, this sobriety to his life. And then Paul continues to instruct, and he says they are to be dignified. And so they are to be then respectable and honorable, right? This lost word of dignity and dignified from our culture. And it's not this idea that, the older man kind of walks around with royal robes or royal garb and is walking in some kind of dignified way. No, the idea is that his life and character is so morally right, that he has such high character within his heart and within his life, that it is respectable and honorable to other people, and really primarily to the younger man. That this older man's life and character is so good and so right on that it elicits admiration from the younger man. And the younger man will say, as he looks at the older man, at his sober-mindedness and at his dignity, he says, "I want to be like that man when I grow up. I want to be a man of character like him." Can you imagine a community of faith where the older men are living out this righteous, sound doctrine lifestyle, and the younger men look to them and are constantly saying, "I want to be like that man"? This is what it means to be dignified. And so he goes on to say then that they are to be self-controlled. And so you kind of get the idea here that, they're self-possessed, but what has happened is they have been, so submissive. The older man has been so submissive to the godly authorities within his life throughout his whole life that he has now received self-discipline and self-control. Kind of get the idea of going off to the military, that the young man becomes a soldier and he listens to his drill sergeant. And the reason he does that is he's seeking to get disciplined. And he doesn't have self-discipline. He doesn't have that self-possession or that self-control yet. So they are sent off to the military, or he willingly goes off to the military, so that he will receive discipline from superiors, from drill sergeants. And they're telling him exactly what to do. They're telling him to make his bed and to do it every day, and to make it in this certain kind of way, and to clean it, his gun in this certain kind of way, and to obey the commands of the commanding officers over and over and over again. And the hope of the military is that eventually, when the drill sergeant is no longer there and they're out on the battlefield, that instruction has seeped into the heart of the individual. That discipline has seeped into the young man's heart, that now he becomes a self-disciplined person. And this is what's really kind of being communicated, is that he has submitted himself to discipline, the older man, for the majority of his life. And now he has become self-controlled and self-disciplined. And he can pass off now that discipline to other younger men. And he goes on to say then that they are to be sound in faith. What this means is that, well, they know the faith. They know the one faith that has been delivered and passed on. The faith that is free from error. And so they are well-studied men. The older men are to be well-studied, and they actually know the faith, and they can pass on the faith to other people. This is, of course, vitally important, because you don't want older men passing on a faith that is full of errors to the younger generation. And so he has committed himself to discipline, he has committed himself to studying the faith, and so now he is sound in faith. And then he goes on to say that he is sound in love. So not only does he believe the right way, sound in faith, but he now lives the right way. He lives in love. And you kind of think of it this way, sound in love. It means that the older man is full of grace and truth. And so he communicates the faith in such a way that it's both full of grace and truth. He's firm with the truth, but it's full of grace. He's understanding and compassionate and knows that we're all failures. And so he communicates the grace of God without leaving the truth of God. And so he does both. And then it says he is sound in steadfastness. So then that he basically faithfully continues his whole life, steadfast or endurance, to be sound in faith and in love. Continuing to be this for his whole life. And so we very quickly begin to get the idea of, wow, this sound doctrine is very robust. And what we have to understand is it's not simply, well, there's grace and then there's these commands. But no, actually these commands that are given by God to older men are actually a gift of grace for them so that they can pass this on to the coming generation. Well, I hope this was helpful to you, and I look forward to the next time as we continue to build faith in families. God bless.